So let's snap it up.
So you're writing about the lowest element of society and environmental degradation and so forth. So how do you maintain your sense of humor? Do your characters end up making you kind of laugh? And how do you
Never.
maintain it?
My characters don't make me laugh. I mean, I know when I've written a line that works and it's funny. I know there's a mechanism that says, you know, you're fighting over every adjective, a comma. You want the line to be just perfect, the scene to be perfect. And you know when it works, but I'm never laughing at the characters. No, I mean, it's all therapy for me. It's total therapy for me. It's, you know, it's just the way I cope with, I mean, I think a lot of people who write satire are pissed off. I'm pissed off all the time. But this is a socially acceptable way of doing it. You know, I mean, I think if you go back and you look at satirical writers, you have to have a sense of injustice. You have to, I mean, a sense of anger or outrage over some injustice, something that needs to be deflated, something that you need to poke fun at, because it's a lacerating weapon when it's done well. I mean, and I use it in the newspaper column the same way, because I know these guys that I'm writing about, they would much rather have you rant and rave than make fun of them. They really wrecks their day when you make fun of them. They just go nuts. Their family's making fun of them now. Everybody's making fun of them. So that's the job, is to ruin their day.
Do you wrestle with these lines and these scenes as you go, or do you write the whole thing and then come back?
No, I wrestle with every sentence. People always say, does it get any easier after years? It did. To me, it gets harder. I think it's supposed to get harder. If it gets easy, I think you're in trouble. I don't think it's as good or as sharp. I mean, I still wake up in the middle of the night thinking of a sentence that I wrote that day. It isn't right, and there's something wrong with a sentence, and I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to mark it and figure it out, or a word that I've used, or a bit of dialogue that was just flat, and I couldn't figure out how to make it better. And there's still, if I pick up a book, an older novel today, and I'll be asked to read sometimes from one of the older books, and I'll see things that make me absolutely cringe. That I said, how did I write that? Then I'll come to a line or a passage, and I'll say, that's pretty good. How come I can't do that now? You know, so there's like no winning. You just beat yourself up all the time if you're doing it right. I'm always distrustful of writers who come in and they'll say, this is my best book yet. And then you sort of say, well, then what's the point of going on? Just call it a day.
That's interesting, because Hardy Boys books 51 through 57 weren't as good.
No, they weren't. Well, a different guy was doing it.
So, there in the back.
Do you ever have characters that are too bitter, you have to cut them, feel like, to fit the plot? Do you feel like you're putting too much out?
Oh, the characters are too bitter?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I have characters that aren't doing what I want them to do, and I get rid of them. You know, if they don't come out of the plot, they exit the storyline early. Because if the worst sin any character can commit in my book is to be boring, and when they're boring me, they're boring the reader. So something's going to happen to them. They're going to leave. They're going to leave stage pretty soon. I've had characters that I've had great expectations for. I thought they were going to be great, they're going to be fantastic. And they weren't. They were a total disappointment to me. I mean, they just let me down completely. You know, it's a great literary insight, but you know, the one thing my friend Jimmy Breslin always said to me, but this was about newspaper columns, but it's true as well for novels, is the worst sin that a writer can commit is to be boring. I mean, if people are going to the trouble of reading you should have them along for every sentence if you can. If you're not doing that, you're not doing your job. And it is a job. I mean, your job is to be entertaining. And the messages are all fine and everything like that. You have to be true to yourself if you're going to write the book, but you have to keep people turning the pages. And so I've had characters that I was just disappointed in, but not because they were too bitter. You know, not because of that.
Let's take two more. Do you have another?
I was thinking of you when they had that flight attendant that
Yeah.
used the title Stormy Weather.
Yeah, the flight attendant guy. But this is
Story.
it's a great story, but here's an example of how easy it is to become famous. You know, if this had happened 25 years ago, it wouldn't have been on the internet overnight. It probably wouldn't have made the nightly news.
And Facebook.
And Facebook, and he has his fan page now. All this is new. This is new stuff, but it's very easy. This couple that crashed the White House. I mean, have you seen this? These two geniuses. And they got their own reality show. Really, truly, dumb as a box of rocks. And they've got their own reality show now. It doesn't take much. It's an example of just sort of bad behavior. You're elevated to now the status of being some sort of hero. And I mean, this guy, I'm sure he had it, he wigged out, and that's fine, and now he wants his job back. But he'll be sitting with Matt Lauer next week, I guarantee you. Then there'll be a Dateline episode, and then it'll be with the ABC crowd, and it's just it's this narrative arc that has become so predictable on the road to fame, and then gradual obscurity, and then he'll go back to his whole life eventually.
Right over here.
Do you really think you've kept your mom from reading your stuff?
No, I try. The deal is she hears about it when I got a book coming out. My sisters tell her. And I got her started on the internet about a year ago. So now, not only does she know when the books are coming out, she knows the whole tour dates. She knows where every city I'm in. She'll say, well, how was Martha's Vineyard? Oh, Mom, how many people showed up? So I sent her this book. And I said, Mom, I don't think you're ready for this book yet. And she said, I've read yours. She said, I know. I said, but this is a little wild and raunchy. She goes, I skipped those parts. I said, I know you don't skip those parts. You skip those parts. But now I can't really, she gets hip to, she knows there's a book out, and her friends call, like her hairdresser will tell her, and I'm screwed. So I gotta send her the book, but I always say, you can just put it on the shelf and tell people you read it. It's okay. She likes the kids' books. Those she's cool with.
So let's wrap it up. Carl, we've got a little gift from you, so you can take part of the East Bay back. This is
wow.
a bottle of pear brandy made from the pears in John Muir's orchard.
Oh my goodness.
200 bottles of this made as a benefit, a local distillery.
You should have given me this before.
But it's very nice, and it's for these were made for an East Bay
Thank
land
you.
preservation
Well, that's
charity.
terrific. Thank you so much. It's fantastic.
And I want to thank you again for coming here. My folks are here.
Oh,
And
gosh.
Back 15
I'm
years
sorry.
ago.
He's not responsible for that.
15 years ago, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my career, and so I took a job. I just kept telling my parents, I don't want to work for the man. Giving them that line there, saying that college education was going, to perfect use. But I took a job at the Grand Canyon, and I just started writing a letter or a postcard every day. And I read voraciously. I read Elmore Leonard, everything he wrote. I read everything Charles Willeford wrote. And then I picked up Striptease. I read it in 2 days, and I read everything he wrote. And by the end of that year at the Grand Canyon, I had my first articles published in Flagstaff newspapers and got a job at the magazine. So thanks so much for all your books. I'm such a huge fan, and this is such a treat to get to meet you.
Thank you all.